Consider the following equation. 1 minus 2/5 x equals 3 to the x minus 4. Approximate the solution to the equation using 3 iterations of successive approximation. Use the graph below as a starting point. So the nice thing on this part here is that we don't have to type this into Desmos. But what we can see is where these two graphs intersect in terms of the x is between 1 and 2. But we'll go back and we'll start this problem like we do the others. So it's 1 minus 2/5 x equals 3 to the x minus 4. We're going to move everything over to one side. So let's add the 4 to both sides. And we get 5 minus 2/5 x equals 3 to the x. And then let's move the 3 to the x over. And we've got 5 minus 2/5 x minus 3 to the x. And I'm not going to put equals anything because this is what we need. And again, based on the picture, what we know is that x is going to be between 1 and 2. So again, lower bound, which I abbreviated as LB, is 1. Upper bound, UB, is 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to put these values of 1 and 2 back into the equation here that we just solved. So we're going to do, when x equals 1, we're going to do 5 minus 2/5 times 1 minus 3 to the first. And I've done the calculations out before. If you type it in with the fraction, you get 8/5. If you end up with a decimal, it's 1.6. So that's when x equals 1. When x equals 2, it's 5 minus 2/5 times 2 minus 3 to the second. And that gives us negative 24/5. And I did not write down what the decimal was, but I can get that. Negative 24 divided by 5 is negative 4.8. if you prefer. So what I want to point out is that 1.6 is positive. You've got to be able to see it. And negative 4.8, there's the negative. Because now what we're going to do is we're going to take our lower bound and our upper bound and we're going to average them together. 1 plus 2 divided by 2 is 3/2. And then we're going to take that value of 3/2 and we're going to put that value of 3/2 back into the equation. So it's going to be 5 minus 2/5 times 3/2 minus 3 to the 3/2. And when we type that in, we get negative 0.796. What's important, and you need to be able to see it, again, sorry, I put the 3/2 back into the equation, this equation here. What's important at this point is that this value is negative. And when we go back and look, our lower bound, we ended up with a positive number. Our upper bound, we ended up with a negative number. So in this particular case, our lower bound is going to remain 1, but our upper bound is now 3/2. And when we take a look at this here, then what we're going to do is we're going to take the average of these two values. So we get 1 plus 3/2 divided by 2. Again, I've worked this out ahead of time. And we get 5/4. And actually, that is our first iteration. I might be a little bit ahead of things. We have to go to 3. But now that we've done that here, we're going to take this value of 5/4 and we're going to put it back into that original equation, which is at the very top of the screen right now, but I'm going to scoot it because I keep writing and you can't see my work. But here we go. We're going to take 5 minus 2/5 times 5/4 minus 3 to the 5/4. And when we do that, we end up with 0.5517. And again, what's important about this is that that value is positive. And when I go back here, from the lower bound, we ended up with a positive number. So our new lower bound now is going to be 5/4, and then we're going to keep our upper bound, which is 3/2, and we're going to take the average of those, which is 5/4 plus 3/2, divided by 2. Again, I've done this work already. I used my calculator. Feel free to use Desmos, but we get 11/8, and this is our second, I don't know why I abbreviated, but I did, iteration, but we need the third here. And when we take a look at this now, we're going to take the 11/8 and we're going to put it back into our equation. So I'm going to try to keep on the same page here. Got to be able to see it. But it's going to be 5 minus 2/5 times 11/8 minus 3 to the 11/8. And when we type that in to Desmos or to our calculator, we get negative 0.079. And once again, the thing that's important here is that that value is negative. And because that is negative here, looking back at our upper bounds and our lower bounds, so now we're going to have a new upper bound. So our lower bound remains 5/4, but our upper bound is now 11/8. And then to get our third iteration, we're going to take 5/4 plus 11/8, divide by 2, and we end up with 21/16. My iPad turned off, but that will match an answer in Edmentum.